Hey everyone, it's your boy Matt here. I'm currently sitting on City Hill. It's not much of a national place here in Australia, but it is a pretty interesting place for Canberrans. This place I like to call Bunny Island. I call it Bunny Island because it's covered sometimes with bunny rabbits. Unfortunately, the authorities seem to have taken a bit of a disliking to these bunny rabbits and have gotten rid of a lot of them, but the evidence of them is still around here. There's the bunny rabbit holes. There's the excretions here. So they seem to be doing well for themselves. All right. Hopefully they come back. So I want to talk about things which are very delicate because I worry what I might be perceived as promoting and what my sexuality is perceived as. So, first of all, I think that sexual relationships with people under the age of 16 by adults is very dangerous. I think there is nuance to this, but I think we have some good social norms around it. The reason why isn't because it's not possible to have very meaningful relationships between adults and minors. It's not, and it is possible to have safe sexual relationships in those situations as well. But as a social norm, for the most part, it makes a lot of sense. And the biggest reason why is because there's the danger that young people get made into something by the elderly person. By this I mean their freedom, their ability to grow out into the world can be taken away. One of the appropriate things that feminists have traditionally argued is that the women need to be able to be protected from patriarchal systems. And by this I mean being placed into a role where they are subservient to men. And the age difference between men and young girls can cause that situation to take place. I also have to say that politically, and I think when you ask young women about these things, they want to be able to make decisions themselves. And I'm for that, and I think young girls, even girls in high school, should be able to cautiously make their decisions about these things. There's the classic idea of the boy band, where we have these attractive young men. Sometimes they're not even young men, sometimes they're even men in their 40s, but they kind of act as an introductory sex symbol for developing sexuality in young women. In that situation, the responsibility of these men is to behave responsibly with that, but also understand that they are part of these young people's developing sexuality, and that means they are going to be sexualized. And I'm one of that. I think I fit into that slot. I'm also a bit of a comedic character, and I acknowledge the absurdity of my situation, and a large amount of it is just very funny. But I am a sex symbol. Returning to my point, so that's the first thing I want to communicate. The second thing I want to communicate is my experiences with younger women. So I have two young women who are a part of my project. One is part of the project because of a legitimate healthcare concern. The other, I have not been able to negotiate things through, but she was the victim of a workplace incident at Get Scared Kids. So first of all, I'll talk about Ms. Pink. Now, Ms. Pink was, it's very difficult to describe these things because remember, I'm the treating practitioner, and my responsibility is to protect these clients' confidentiality and those kinds of things. At this point, we're probably at a point where things have been exposed enough that I'm making a calculated decision to release some privileged client information. But it's being done in a very considered way. I don't have the opportunity to talk these things through with my clients because there's understandably some concerns in this situation. But returning to my point, I'll explain things. She was very, very badly abused by the community. She's autistic. She's not able to understand social norms, and her attachment system, which is needs to be seen as a neurological thing, had been destroyed, and she was in the developmental cycle for borderline personality disorder. Because she had an intellectual impairment and she is also autistic, having that additional issue would have ruined her life or made it exceedingly difficult. She already has issues relating to people. Also having borderline personality disorder on top of autism is not fun. And so in that situation, my job is to provide a secure base of attachment for her. And she is under the age of 16. And my responsibility in that situation is to use the sexual mechanism without having physical sex to create a secure base of attachment. Because our sexuality, the way it works in our species, is that man, woman come together, have baby. We need the man to stick around for the baby. So there's the attachment to the woman. The woman needs the man to support them so they can raise the kid. This is historically how it has almost always been. We have cultural things developed around it. And I'm very happy that the 1960s happened and women's liberation happened. We're talking about how these systems, our biology evolved. We need the man and the woman to stay together to support the kid, right? That's why we have this second stage where the attachment system has an opportunity to create a secure basis of attachment. I notice I'm skipping ahead a bit here because when we're children, we come out of the womb, we learn how we're going to be treated from the world, first by how our mother treats us, then closer family members, and then further and further away from the mother in terms of social proximity. There's a developmental period where that takes place and the behaviors that we have for our attachment develop. If that attachment system develops poorly, people develop borderline personality disorder. So there's an opportunity to fix borderline personality disorder later in life using sexuality. And because there's the issue of the cognitive impairment, it is difficult to do, it's difficult to use traditional talk therapy modalities with my client. And so I've used Tac0 to try and help her develop a stable attachment system. Now, Ms. Purple, her situation was entirely preventable and was the result of a workplace incident. What happened is that I had a suspicion she was related to a previous romantic interest. I talked to my boss about this. She said not to work with that client. And then in the interim, I got falsely accused of stealing money from the client by the client's parent. And then what happened is that eventually I lost my job and I lost everyone in my community, in my world. I lost my family and I lost every single one. Like I was being made completely isolated, right? And it has not been just what has happened to me and how I've been treated. Now with her, I am in a position where I need to be very careful because I'm not happy. Like I would not have intentionally put her in this situation. This is something which happened during a breakdown on my end, and what I've tried to do is make the best of this situation for her. I've tried very hard to get this thing commodified so I could make sure this situation's made up for. The other thing is with her is that I did find her a very attractive and very reasonable person. Her and I have both been. I understand what it's like to be. I'm not going to disclose any information about her situation because, again, I'm disclosing confidential client information here. this is something that I've avoided doing because I am responsible for these people and I'm acting responsibly. So that's what I want to communicate on this point. I think I'm going to make another video describing different forms of pornography, including lolicon and these things. They are forms of pornography which are just fun, okay? There's I think actual child pornography is very dangerous. I think when we put children in that situation, it can, it's in the world of sexuality, it's there's the opportunity for exploitation and abuse. Sexuality is fun. It can also be dangerous. There's a lot of the damage, I think, which is caused in situations of child pedophilia and these things. I think a lot of the damage is done because of cultural things. I think it's a lot of our social norms don't facilitate the care of people in these situations. And I think there's a degree where we need to also acknowledge that pedophilia and these things are quite natural phenomenon. I do not identify as a pedophile. I identify as a person who has an incredibly diverse set of sexual preferences. I'm a very creative person, and I've used sexuality to enjoy my creativity. But I wanted to highlight the cases with these two particular clients and their situation. I've tried to use this as an opportunity for advocacy for their situation, and particularly for making a point that neurodiverse people need to be taken care of, and they are often very badly abused. And both of these young women are neurodiverse, and they're two lovely girls, and I want the absolute best for their future, and I'm trying to work towards that. I'm also I am mindful of the concerns and the needs of their family, and the concerns of their family, and maybe even their own concerns. Again, I'm not able to communicate with these people, so I can't negotiate through this in the very sensitive, tactful way that I'd like to. If there's an opportunity in the future to go through even a third party to ensure that to be able to facilitate healing if there's been any damage done, I'd love to do that. But that's my conclusion on this topic. I hope everyone has a lovely day. I haven't seen enough bunnies on Bunny Island, and I hope to see a whole lot more here soon. Have a good day, everyone.